Hello folks, how you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World, What's Happening. So, I guess we've got a lot to talk about today. Let me kind of adjust my seat here a little because I'm sitting way low. I got a new monitor set up with different monitors on these little arms and everything. So, okay. Anyway, yeah, coronavirus. This this shit is for real. Like I said last time, I kind of didn't really want to make a video on this too early, because I didn't want to jump the gun. Um, because we have a lot of scares like this all the time. We have um, every couple of years we get another viral outbreak scare. H1N1, swine flu, or bird flu, or SARS, or whatever, going all the way back to the 90s. I mean, I remember when they were talking about the hantavirus, if you remember that. And most of the time, it's like it usually never really amounts to very much at all. You know, um, this really is the first time in my experience that I've ever seen um, this type of reaction, to one of these outbreaks like this pandemic. And I guess it just really hasn't been this bad before. You know, um, Shit seems to be kind of hitting the fan out there, and a lot of people seem to be very scared. And no thanks in part to the idiots we have in charge and how they completely bungled it when telling us all that it was all hoax and all this shit when they could have been preparing, right? So, just a quick little recap. I'm sure a lot of you out there are sick of hearing about this, but we got to talk about it. I'm sorry. I know it's like, I don't want to because, there's other shit that we should be talking about, We should be talking about the election. We should be talking about homelessness. We should be talking about the environment, stuff like that. But, you know, this really right now is the most pressing issue facing the country right now. This is going to have ramifications that are going to affect all of us, pretty much no matter who you are and where you live in this country. It's going to affect you in one way or another, If you don't get sick, it's going to affect the economy, and then that's going to affect you, And if you don't lose your job, it's going to affect the election, and that's going to affect you. So, you know, keep yourself informed, right? So just a quick recap. I'm touching my face and shit. I'm gonna stop doing that. So okay, as of right now, our esteemed president is. I think he just got done with a press conference. It's about 2 o'clock here on the Pacific, West Coast, Los Angeles. That's where I live. And so he just had a press conference declaring national emergency, right? Lord knows why it's taken him this long to do it. Okay, but yeah, so now there's a national emergency. Um, I don't know. It kind of reminds me, right? Like I don't know if you guys remember back. Just a little side tangent here, real quick. Back in the day when Bush was president, and you know, Katrina hit New Orleans, and it took him a good like week before he declared it an emergency. Like he just couldn't decide if it was an emergency. Thousands of people trapped in a stadium with no food, no water, nowhere to go. Oh, I don't know if that's an emergency. Let me think about it for a couple days. It's like unbelievable. They should have declared an emergency fucking a week ago. Once the shit started hitting the shores here, right? They didn't do that. They tried to bullshit everybody into thinking that it wasn't going to be a problem. So anyway, I should be drawing while I'm doing this. By the way, this is the same demon that we worked on last time. Um, well, I figure we might as well just continue with this because there's nothing like a big evil hideous demon when we're talking about viruses and politics, right? Anyway, let me just make that a little bit smaller. And let's go up to our opacity. We'll make that about 20%. Multiply. Okay. All right. So right now this is still very much a sketch. I'm not sure exactly how far we're gonna take it, but maybe depending on how many more of these we have over the next few weeks, maybe we'll do this one all the way to completion. Anyway, so where are we at right now in the country with this? Well, there are, the last I checked, which was this morning, so there may be more now, there were 1,700 confirmed cases in the country, right? And 41 deaths. Okay. Now, keep in mind, coronavirus has a roughly 2% death rate, right? So if 41 people are dead already, well, what's 41? 41 is 2% of what? Uh, you know, 82, 8,200, somewhere around there. So you can assume that that's probably the real number of infected people, but chances are it's more than that, because that's just the number of people. I don't like it's really like if you think about it, you know, 1,700 are the confirmed cases, so there's probably 5 to 10 times that many people who actually have the virus right right now who have not been diagnosed because they're not showing symptoms because it takes something like 2 weeks or whatever, you know, for the symptoms to manifest. So really, there could be anywhere from 8 to, you know, 20,000 people in the country right now. There could be more than that, you know. So yeah, this is some serious shit, right? Um, and anyway, so yeah, what are they doing this whole time? I mean, this whole time we could have been preparing for it, but they weren't preparing. Anyway, moving on. Right now, you're starting to see a lot of private businesses and things starting to send people home, so that they'll work from home, stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if my wife's company tells her to work from home starting next week or something for a little while. You're starting to see events getting canceled. I know they canceled some of the primaries in like Louisiana and some other places. They canceled some Republican primaries too. The NBA shut down games for the rest of this season for the foreseeable future, which hopefully that'll pack back up. Um, I haven't, the one thing I'm concerned about is Comic Con. If they cancel Comic Con, oh, fuck, that's gonna be, man, fucking virus. See, this is the one year, okay, I'm gonna take a few minutes to complain about some shit for a little while. Okay. Um, this year, for the first time ever, I managed to get a professional registration at Comic Con. I managed to bullshit my way into getting a professional registration. So for the next 3 years, I get basically to go for free, and I get an assistant that comes with me. So luckily my wife gets to come with me, and then I get to buy tickets. So for the first time ever in my life, so I haven't actually gone to Comic Con. Like, I didn't go last year. That sucked. I think in 2017 I got to go on Sunday or something like that for like one day. So I've never actually gone there for more than like 2 days ever in my whole life, and this is the first time ever that I'm gonna go for all 4 days. Right? And it's just gonna really, really be horrible. It's gonna suck so much ass if they cancel fucking Comic Con because of the fucking coronavirus. I swear to God, please don't let that happen. Seriously, that's just gonna suck. I mean, okay, I know, I'm being selfish. All right, I'm sorry. It's bullshit. It's fucked up. Please don't cancel Comic Con. Please, if they cancel it, just move it to another part of the year. Move it to like September or some shit. Please, pretty please with sugar on top. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, shit's getting canceled all over the place. We're starting to see people like celebrities and stuff. Tom Hanks, famously, he tested positive for the coronavirus, so that's fucking horrible. He's in the he's in the hospital right now, self quarantining or whatever. Why's it got to be Tom Hanks? How come it can't be like somebody that we all hate? How come it can't be fucking O.J. Simpson? There you go. How come he doesn't get the fucking coronavirus? How come like Forrest Gump's got to fucking get it? It's like the one actor that like you know embodies wholesomeness and good things and is actually a decent actor. Can you name a Tom Hanks movie that was crappy? You know, Not really. Not in recent memory. Maybe if you're going back to like the 80s with like fucking, gods and, mazes and monsters or some shit. You ever see that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, why's it gotta be him? How come it can't be like fucking, how come Justin Bieber can't fucking get it or, something like that or some other fucking human parasite like Alex Jones? How comes they don't get the fucking coronavirus, but like actual good actors and people that actually help the world and shit get it? Um, anyway, some other people who have been exposed. I am kind of, not happy to say, but not, you know, surprised is most likely Donald Trump has been, exposed to the coronavirus, right? That was in the news the other day. He was at CPAC, which is um, you know, basically it's a convention where like Republican and conservative lawmakers get together and decide how they're gonna fuck the country up. And one of the guys at CPAC was tested positive for the coronavirus, and it was a guy that Trump shook hands with, right? And it's not just Trump. It wasn't only Trump that got exposed. Also Ted Cruz and some other. I got them written down here. Um, Pence was also, and also Ivanka, which also means Jared Kushner. They've all been exposed. Um, William Barr, right? Also, and my favorite Republican politician of all time, Matt Gaetz, has also been exposed. And so they're, Matt Gaetz and Ted Cruz and all those guys, they're like self quarantining themselves right now. And yeah, that's kind of, I mean, it sucks, and I don't want anybody to get sick, but that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. And I think it's very, very kind of ironic because Matt Gaetz just recently voted against giving people, you know, health care, right? He voted, so a bill came up to basically like give people, health care for the coronavirus, and he voted against it. Like sick leave. That's what it was. It was sick leave for the coronavirus. He voted against it. So if you haven't heard about that, they put forward a bill in the House. The Democrats put forward a bill in the House, so that if you have to take paid sick leave, basically. So if you're at your job and you don't get sick leave, like 99% of the people in the country don't or whatever. I don't know if it's that high, but pretty much most people in the country who don't work in offices don't get sick days. If you work in a restaurant, if you work at a something like that, if you're like working construction, you work retail, you don't get sick days. You know, you have to like usually if you need a day off for something like that, you have to find somebody who will like switch shifts with you or something like that. And if you can't do that, then fucking you don't get that day off. And especially even if they do give you the day off, you don't get paid. Fuck no, you don't get paid days off. Even at my last gig that I had, you know, I didn't in my nice cushy office job that I didn't get fucking paid sick days, right? Actually, no, that's not true. I got three. Okay, but if I had to take 2 weeks off to self quarantine, no, that I wouldn't get. I wouldn't get, that not paid. Fuck no. I mean, most people, if you're not a permanent employee of whatever company that you're working with, if you're a temp, if you're a contractor, you don't get paid sick days, right? And the Democrats knew that this was going to be a problem, And they put forward this bill so that, you can take this time off if you get sick so you don't have to go to work and you don't infect everybody else. And Republicans in the House stopped that with help from Matt Gaetz, who now, I'm sad to say, has been exposed to the coronavirus. Hey, how you doing, man? Yeah, we are fucked. I just saw your message there, Oli. What's happening? Welcome to the stream. I think really you're the only person watching right now. How many people are watching? Let me see. Oh, one current. Yeah, well, there you go. You're watching. So, welcome to the stream. Anyway, if you're typing shit and I'm not reading it, it's because I have notes on this side. So it's like I have to juggle, because I got the two monitors. Anyhow, going back to that. Yeah. So, that's just a little bit of irony there that our current a group of people in the country who could have done something about this to lessen the impact and who didn't have all, they're all going to be personally affected by this. Whether or not they all get sick or whatever is one thing, but at the very least, they're sweating along with everybody else. And I guess that just kind of shows you that karma is real, right? And, you know, the death comes for us all, no matter how rich or how powerful you are. The poor, the rich, the young, the old alike, all of us are subject to, death's door there or whatever, right? I can't remember what the saying is exactly, but it's some saying like that. I can't remember. Anyway, so, what are they doing, right? So now there's a national emergency, right? Which took way too long, in my opinion, to actually get declared. They should have declared it, you know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even. They should have started putting, like, for example, the other day, Trump had a news conference where he put travel restrictions on Europe, right? And botched that too, by the way. And he should have done that weeks ago. He should have done that weeks ago as soon as, like, cases started showing up in Italy and France and all of that stuff. Should have immediately, restricted those things. In fact, I could probably dig up 10 or 20 tweets where he, like, criticized Barack Obama for not restricting travel, during the Ebola outbreak. I don't know. Do you remember that? That seems like ancient fucking history, doesn't it? The Ebola outbreak, you know? When, like, the difference, though, is that Ebola was, not even close to being as communicable as this is, right? For Ebola, you had to actually handle somebody's bodily fluids. It's not an airborne thing. So somebody would have to, like, vomit on you, or you'd have to, like, touch their blood or some shit like that. So this, coronavirus thing is like a fucking airborne, right? That's the difference between these two things. So anyway, but yeah, it just kind of goes to show that, they have their heads up their asses. The people in charge don't know what the fuck to do. They have no idea because they've never actually faced anything like this. Because first off, our country is being run by a bunch of fucking rich kids sycophants who, like, have never had to actually earn anything in their entire lives and have never been held accountable for any of the mistakes they've ever made. And, so now when, like, the shit is hitting the fan and we have to depend on their decisions to save people's lives, they don't know what to fucking do because they've never had this kind of pressure before. Because, see, somebody like Donald Trump has more money, right, than any of you watching this. Anybody out there, anybody that you know or have ever met, unless you've met Bill Gates or some shit like that, right? And he had this money since the day he was born. Before he was born, he had this money. While he was in the womb and shit, he had more money than you. All right. And what happens when you're rich like that? When you have that kind of cash, right? You get whatever you want. Okay? That's the number one thing that happens to you when you're super duper rich. that you can just basically buy anything you want, right? And if you want something, you'll get it because why not? Because you got the money for it, so why the fuck not? So imagine a Donald Trump as a child growing up, you know, every fucking thing that he ever wants. If he wants something, he just asks for it. If they don't get it for him, he gets it himself because his fucking pocket change, right? His bank account as a fucking infant is more than your house, you know, and your parents' house and your brother's and your sister's house all put together. Okay, you remember that shit. Okay, everything. You know, what do you think that does to somebody? You know, if you know, okay, Donald Trump goes to this prestigious like academy school or whatever. Do you really think he paid attention when he was in school? You know, why would he have to? He doesn't. It doesn't matter. His future didn't depend on him doing well in school at all, of him actually learning anything. He didn't actually have to learn anything. He already knew where he was going. You know, he's got the family business, right? And even if his father didn't let him take over the family business, he still had enough cash, you know, in his fucking trust fund or whatever that he would never have to actually work if he wanted to. If he wanted to, he could just spend his entire life on the beach, you know, chilling back, drinking martinis, banging really hot chicks, and that's pretty much what he did during his entire like adult life. You know, look at his pattern of, you know, his marriages and all that stuff. That's how the guy lived, you know, basically just I want something, I get it. Hey, look, there goes a really beautiful woman. She's a porn star. My wife is like, you know, my wife that I'm married to is at home pregnant with our child. I don't care. I'm going to have sex with this woman because I want to. You know, that's how super duper rich people like Donald Trump think. They don't give a shit. They don't care, and it's evident in everything that he does. You know, like I don't know if you go on like right now and right before this you know, I started live streaming. I was on YouTube, and I was looking at, you know, David Pakman, right? And one of the videos he has is, well, apparently they left a mic on after Donald Trump did a press conference where he was talking about the coronavirus, right? And immediately after, you know, he goes, oh, we're gonna, you know, this is some footage of him unwinding after the press conference. So they do the press conference, and then, like, you know, he goes, okay, like this. That's what he, like, all loud, right? Like it's a pain in the ass for him, all right? You know, there's people at home right now, right? Especially his followers, especially the people that voted for him, you know, the fucking morons with the Trump hats on. These are people that are like depending on this guy, you know, like looking and depending on him to kind of get through this crisis, okay? Because a lot of people are scared, right? Out there, okay? I mean, fuck, I'm scared. I'm scared, and I'm probably the least likely person to die from this, okay? Because I'm, you know, generally healthy. I don't have any major, you know, I don't have any major you know, preconditions, right? I don't have cancer. I don't have emphysema. I don't have a depressed immune system, anything like that, you know. But I'm middle aged, right? And, you know, I'm scared. You know, I'm scared. Like, what if I die? What's my wife gonna do? Okay. Like, you know, what if my parents die? My parents are in their 60s, both of them. Okay, they're generally healthy as well, especially my dad. My dad is extremely healthy, right? Fucking works out and stuff all the time. But, you know, he's at risk, right? What if he dies also? You know, what if you know, my aunt-in-law, my wife's aunt, you know, she's also in her 60s. What if she dies? Okay? Or my mother, or, you know, whatever. I guess I'm happy to hear that children are not that affected by it. So I'm not too worried about my niece and my nephew. You know, I don't know if you saw my last stream. I was talking about my infant nephew. That was just, you know, he was just born, you know, roughly 6 months ago, right? You know, he's going to be okay. So I'm happy for them. I mean, I guess that's one little consolation is that children are not, you know, in that much danger, right? But, you know, there is still, that doesn't mean like, what if my sister, you know, gets sick, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm mainly. Oh, I think she's probably going to be okay because she actually my sister lives in the UK, so they have socialized medicine and shit. So at the very least, I know she'll get the care she needs, and she won't have to like wait, and she won't go bankrupt trying to go to the doctor. At least that's one good thing. Right. But still, that's scary shit. It's scary to think about these things, right? This is the kind of stuff that we here in the West, in the, developed world that we like to call the first world or whatever, we don't have these problems usually, okay? You don't usually have to think about that kind of thing. Will a lethal virus wipe out my entire family? That's usually not something that we deal with, you know we're used to shit like am I gonna get chicken or am I gonna get a hamburger tonight? Those are the kinds of problems we're thinking about. Okay, oh yeah, that's you know I got too many things to watch on Netflix. I'm sure you're all familiar with the first world problem meme that's out there. That's the kind of shit that we usually deal with out here in the West, in the rich countries in America and shit like that. We don't usually think about like, oh wow, my entire family could be dead by this time 17 days from now. That's how long it takes, by the way, 17 days. When you catch it and then symptoms start showing up, 17 days later, you could be dead. Okay, that's like the average time it takes to kill somebody. The good news is that the recovery seems to be a lot faster too. Um, Seems like the people that recover, most of them recover within a few days, and then it just usually is sort of just like having a cold. So, um, if you do start coming down with symptoms, don't panic. Don't panic at all. Okay, you gotta stay calm and just do all the usual things you would do that when you have like the flu. Go to the doctor, get tested. Okay, but don't panic. You don't have to be like filling out your last will and testament just yet. All right. So, and just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But if you have one of those, if you're in that risk group, if you're an elderly person, if you have something like diabetes or something like that, then take it seriously. Take it seriously. This shit could be a serious problem, and that's the problem in this country is that it's like our country is set up so that people will not take it seriously. That's what it's like. Our country is set up so that you don't get time off, right? You don't get you have to pay up the ass for it, right? I'm sure you heard that story about the guy who, in fact, I mentioned it in my last stream. The guy who thought he might have it and he went and got tested and ended up like paying. He got charged like $3,000 just to go get tested, right? Because they like tested him like he went to a hospital that was off network or whatever. Conveniently they don't tell you that shit when you go to the hospital whether this is off network or not, right? Um, it's set up in the country to fuck people over, right? So you know, please, for the love of God, make sure that make sure you're taking the right steps to stay healthy, right? And take it seriously in anything. Anyway, shit, I kind of went off on a tangent there. I wanted to talk about basically the response, the government response to coronavirus, right? So they've blocked travel to Europe. That's fun, right? Except that they did not block travel to the UK. And you go, well, why did they not? Why did Trump decide not to block travel to the UK? Because that doesn't make any sense. Because if you're in Europe and you wanted to come to the United States, but let's say you live in Belgium or France or something, all you got to do is hop on a train and go to the UK and depart from there. London's Heathrow Airport or whatever. So that really doesn't do very much to restrict travel, right? So why did he exempt the UK? Well, could it be because he has, some resorts that are in the UK? I mean, does that factor a little bit into it? You got to think about this kind of thing. And I think that's the most telling thing right here is that, they're not trying to help us. They're trying to cover their own asses, you know. Um, like that just illustrates the entire thing, like right there. He doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't give a shit about actually doing anything about this virus or helping people who might be affected by it. He cares about covering his own ass. Something else that I heard today, right, was that so dig this. All right, this shit's crazy. While in the House, you know, the House Republicans were voting down um, your your sick leave. While they were voting that bill down, while they were saying that they were not going to guarantee that you can get paid for sick leave so that you don't spread this virus. The Federal Reserve approved $1.5 trillion to inject into the stock market, right? In order to keep the stock market from crashing, because I'm sure you've all heard this. The stock market is tumbling down, you know, like a drunk sorority girl at a frat party. It is on its knees, heaving into the toilet, right? The stock market is all completely fucked. And I hope if you out there, if you have any like investments or whatever, I'm hoping that you manage to take some precautions there. I actually do. I have a little bit of money, not too much, and the best thing, to be honest, if you have money in the stock market right now, is leave it because it'll rebound eventually, right? I don't really have that much, so it doesn't fuck me over too much. Although I don't know about my 401k. My 401k is probably fucking destroyed. But like right now, don't sell because if you sell right now, you're just gonna sell at a loss. You know, right now is a great time to buy if you have extra cash. Buy some Facebook, Amazon for sure. Amazon went down like I checked it. It was at a high of like $2,200 per share. And last I looked at it yesterday, it was at $1,600 a share, which is like, that's a shitload of money. That's a major lot. That translates into billions and billions of dollars, right? And apparently, the stock market losses are so bad, right, that it's basically wiped out all of the gains that it's gotten since January of 2017. So what is it this whole time, that the Trump people, that the Republicans have been saying to us that, oh, well, the stock market's doing good. The economy is great. The stock market is so awesome. Your 401k is going up like crazy. Right. So all of the bad shit that's happened over the last 3 years, that was the one thing they could point to was that at least the economy is good. Well, you can't have a major crash like this without there being repercussions, right? Now, the stock market is a pretty shitty indicator of the economy. Okay, anybody with a brain will be able to tell you this. Just because the stock market is doing good or bad doesn't mean the rest of the economy is doing good or bad. But what it is it's a good indicator of what companies will be doing in the ensuing months. Okay, so if, for example, there's a major crash and there's not a lot of investing going on, companies will, in a few months from now, are not going to have the same investment power, that they usually would have because stocks represent, shares in their company, and that represents capital. And if they don't have those shares, if they don't have that capital, then budgets get tightened, right? And this is just I'm not defending this one way or another. I'm not defending capitalism. I'm not saying any shit like that. We can talk about that later, right? But this is just how it is. Okay. So what's going to end up happening is that the next fiscal quarter is going to come, and all the companies out there are going to see that okay, we have to cut people. We have to cut back in order to keep the company profitable, right? And that's the excuse. And here's the thing: is that the company could be profitable anyway, right? But because of, whatever they want, they projected a certain amount. And if you don't meet that certain amount, then they basically trim back, and that's why you have layoffs, and it's basically just also some douchebag at the top can get another fucking mansion. I mean, that's what we all really know, But I'm not. I'm concerned more about the actual effect that this will have on real life, on people, on consumers, not just consumers, but the workers, right? That's what I'm thinking about right now. Okay, and this is what's going to happen in the next couple of months. You're going to see, there's no way that some companies will be able to weather this without going out of business. That's going to happen. So if you have a company that's struggling out there, something like, for example, is like, Kmart is just like barely hanging on. Last I checked, I mean, if they haven't gone out of business completely already, last I checked, they were just barely hanging on. They had like a handful of stores left in the country. Something like if you have a company in that kind of position, they're pretty much gone because of this. This is gonna like destroy them. It's gonna put them over the it's gonna basically put them over the top, and they're gonna have to close up shop. You know, for example, I mean, I don't even know if Kmart's still around. I thought they were last I looked, but I could be wrong. Um, so that's what's gonna happen. So look for that. Look for a recession. You know, probably starting around July, right? Uh, Probably it's probably going to take at least a month, maybe 2 months for this to reverberate through a little bit until you start seeing companies closing and layoffs and outsourcing shit like that. Because that's always what happens whenever you get a recession, and this most definitely, this is going to spark a recession. Just it's only a matter of time. The economy was already just a house of cards to begin with. You know, um, most people out there right now don't have, like I was reading about this, right? Most people don't have, like, if you had a $400, surprise bill that they had to pay, most people couldn't pay it right now, you know. And if you get, like, most people couldn't, like, say if you get laid off, like, the idea is you want to keep a couple of months of your rent and expenses in savings for problems like this, so that if you do get laid off, you're not immediately fucking evicted from your house and shit. Nobody has that. Barely. I mean, barely anybody has enough in their savings to like to do that. I mean, I do. I do, but I'm one of the few rare ones, and it's because, I managed to make way more money the last couple of years than I needed. So I don't know if you guys know, I'm actually currently unemployed still. All right, because and I'm lucky that I planned ahead for it, and I could probably go until November without having to work. To be honest, I mean, I'm not. I'm out there interviewing and shit right now. Hopefully find a job sometime soon, but um, I'm in a pretty comfortable space myself. I mean, plus my wife still works. She's got a really good job actually, and I'm not too worried about her. Her company doesn't lay people off very much, so you know. But I know that I'm the exception. I know that most people out there, don't have that luxury of having, you know, 6 to 8 months of resources that they can draw upon. A lot of people out there, especially if you work in a retail job, if you work in a restaurant job, if you work any kind of contracting type job, right? They don't have that. And a lot of young kids out there, millennials, stuff like that, who are like, they never, kids that are like still paying off college loans from like fucking 8 years ago, right? Kids that are going to be paying off college loans for the rest of their lives, right? They don't have that opportunity either, like they don't have that ability. A lot of people right now who are in that, um, who are in that like say 25 to 35 age range, the millennials, right? A lot of them don't have the same kind of financial security that I have. And I'm not, I'm like poor. Well, I wouldn't say I'm poor, but I'm definitely not rich. You know what I mean? I'm like fucking, middle class, if that. Lower middle class, I would say. Shit. Um, so like fucking yeah, like the country is, the economy in the country is fucked up, and it's bad, and it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get bad out there before it gets better. Um, One thing I think you could do about it, you know, like what do you do when shit like this hits the fan? you know, well, you can vote. That's the first thing. Now, I'm not going to be ignorant enough to say that, well, if we had a Democrat in charge right now, this wouldn't be happening. That's not true. Okay. It doesn't matter who is in charge. We would still probably be in this same situation, right? I will say, however, that we'd be in a much better position if we had decent leadership, you know, right now. If we actually had competent people who knew what they were doing and who actually gave a fuck about us, then we'd probably be in a much, much better position. You got to remember, okay, so this is something else that happened, right? I'm sure you've all heard about this. Donald Trump fired the CDC response team, right, for the outbreak response team. Like basically they had an office in the White House that monitored outbreaks like this, especially in China, because that's where like all of the outbreaks happen in China, because they all come from fucking China, right? Um, the reason why they all come from China we can get to in a little bit, but basically he shut them down. He shut all those guys down, right? Why? Why did he do that? Okay, why? Like, what possible fucking reason? The reason why he did it is because he was freeing up money to build his stupid fucking wall. All right, I don't know if you remember that, right? But about a year ago, I think what it was, when he couldn't get his wall funding, and it just wouldn't get through Congress, and then he realized it wasn't going to happen, and he wasn't going to have his fucking dumbass wall in time for the election. uh, the Trump people took it upon themselves to just like arbitrarily take money that's been appropriated for other things and use it for the wall. Most famously defense spending, right? This was part of that. And he shut all that down, right? Because he wanted to free up money for his fucking wall. And yep, this is what happens when you have, incredibly bad, short-sighted leadership like that. Okay, now we got half a fucking wall that doesn't fucking work. We got a dumbass wall that blows over in the wind that isn't stopping anybody from doing anything. And we got an entire country of people who are panicked like fucking crazy because of this virus, because the people that we trusted to be in charge to handle shit like this have their heads up their asses, right? So you need to remember these things. Like we're not all going to die, okay? Even if every single person in the country gets the coronavirus, it's got a 2% death rate, so that's a shitload of people. That comes out to like 7 million people or something, which is ridiculous. That'd be a major tragedy, and you know, I don't wish that on anybody, and I'm pretty much, I'm pretty confident that's not what is going to happen. I think it'll be closer to, what's in China, but it'll still be a shitload of people, but it's not going to result, like, this is not going to result in the end of the world. It's not going to turn into The Last of Us, you know. It's not going to mutate into the fucking T virus, and we're going to have zombies running around, and, you're going to have to, like, you know, fucking Resident Evil and shit, right? That's not going to happen, okay? It's not the end of the world, right? Um, so the elections next November are still going to happen. Okay, they're not going to cancel the elections. All right, they're not going to declare martial law and start putting people in concentration camps. Not no no. All right, by this time in shit. By this time in April or May at the least, this will all be over with. At least I hope so. I don't know if it isn't by then we're fucked. But if you're looking at the normal progression of these things, I mean, if you look in China, it's already starting to calm down in China, right? It's got a very short half-life. Although they're saying that it could come back later this year. Hopefully by that point we'll be fucking better prepared, you know. So yeah, um, this it doesn't mean that you shouldn't just not plan for the future. Plan on there being an election, right? And what you can do in the election is vote for the people who will be more better prepared for the next time this shit happens. Okay. Um, so how long we been streaming, by the way? What's it been? Let me see here. Sorry, give me a sec, folks. We've been streaming for. Let me open up my thing here. Shit, it's been 45 minutes? Oh my god. I gotta get something to drink, so I'll be back in 1 minute. So please don't go anywhere. Give me 1 minute. All right. Sorry about that. All this talking and shit's making my mouth dry. Mm. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, I was drawing weird ripples and shit on the demon's chest here. Anyway, so yeah, plan on there being an election plan, and I really hope that people out there see this, see how our government reacted and what they did and how they just don't give a shit about you, in order and vote accordingly. Like they took okay, I mean, this was a point I actually wanted to make this point and I got sidetracked again. Sorry, I gotta stop doing that. So while they were voting down, giving us guaranteed paid time off, they took the Fed took $1.5 trillion and injected that into the stock market because the stock market was collapsing like crazy. It was free falling, right? And they wanted to stop it free falling. Now, $1.5 trillion, all right, that is a shitload of money. That is more money than, you know, that's like it's ridiculous. You can't even comprehend. So you say that word trillion. Don't even try to understand how much that is. Okay, it's beyond human understanding. That's like, you're getting into like galactic scales there. You know what I mean? Like Pluto is 1 trillion miles away or whatever. That's what $1 trillion is. It's more money than you will ever spend in your entire life ever. You know. Um, so they took that much money, injected it into the stock market, right, to stop it from collapsing. And it did. It went up for about 30 minutes, and then it started going down again. That's what they call a dead cat bump, right? Because if you look at the chart, it goes boop, like that, and it looks like a dead cat, right? Um, so they basically took all that money and flushed it down the toilet. They lit it on fire. They gave it to rich people so that rich people would stop losing so much money because all their money is in the stock market, and it didn't even fucking work. You know, you know what else is $1.5 trillion? All of the student debt that millennials have right now. They could have took that money and they could have, you really want to like make the economy better, get rid of student debt. Forgive student debt right now, right? I mean, I guarantee overnight the economy would definitely show some positives there because you'd have millions of people out there that didn't have these ridiculous bills that eat up so much of their fucking income. Like every dollar that gets spent on a fucking, college loan from 12 years ago is a dollar that can't go to buying goods and services, can't go to buying a new car, can't go to buying a new Xbox, can't go to going on vacation, can't go to buying, shit that they need at a grocery store, right? And if you don't spend money, if you don't get money flowing in the economy, then you don't get any demand for anything. And if you don't have demand, then companies are not going to hire people because it doesn't matter how much you cut their fucking taxes, right? If there's no demand for your service, then, or your product, then you're not going to sell any of your fucking product. And if you're not selling, then you're not going to hire anybody. And that's how the economy works. Okay. So, right now, they're proposing, yeah, we're going to cut taxes again. Because that's the only move that Republicans have is to cut taxes. The economy goes shitty, cut taxes. That's all they understand. So they're going to cut the payroll tax, right? Which is like, okay, well, that actually does increase the amount of money that you have in your wallet, in your paycheck at the end of your 2 weeks or whatever, right? You do get more money, you'll get like $50 or something like that, or actually more like $20 or something, right? But the problem with that is that the payroll tax goes to funding Social Security. So, okay, well, now that just means Social Security is going to run out even faster. Social Security is supposed to run out at around 2038, 2037, right around there. They could fix Social Security overnight if they wanted to by increasing the amount of payroll taxes that are that are collected. So what it is right now is that after a certain, like, you get paid, up to $128,000 or something like that. Every dollar after that amount, you don't pay any payroll tax on. You don't pay into Social Security for it, right? They could fix Social Security overnight by doubling or even tripling that, you know. And the people that make more than that amount of money, they can afford it. Okay, if you made, what, $300,000, right, and you're going to pay 2% to Social Security, you'll be fine. Okay, you're fine there. You're not going to have to, like, that's not going to knock you out of your fucking, house and home or whatever. Whenever they raise taxes on rich people, the Republicans always make it sound like that they're just barely squeaking by and all that shit. And if you raise taxes again, I'm gonna have to shut down my business. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. That's no. If you're making that much fucking money, you can afford to contribute to social fucking security. Okay, just a little bit more. And really, people like Donald Trump and all the rich people in fucking Congress, right? And that kind of thing, they're not going to be there. That's fly shit to them. They're not going to notice that at all. You know, I mean, if it was me, if I were in charge, I would just take the cap off of that completely and say no matter how much you make, you're paying 2% into Social Security. That's what I would do. So if you made, $30,000 or $30 million, 2% of that goes into Social Security. We would never have this problem again if we did that. And honestly, if you make $30 million, right, you can afford to put 6 million. What's 2% of that? What, 600,000? You can afford to put that into Social Security. You're fine. Okay, you still have, 500 fucking $59,400,000 to live on. So yeah, don't listen to the bullshit where they tell you that it's like that. Oh, the rich people, the 1% is already taxed at 50%. No, they're not. No, they're fucking not. Okay, that's bullshit. That's all bullshit. Um. Anyway, God, going off on a lot of tangents and it's kind of sorry. I'm getting a little distracted on where to going a little crazy here. Jesus. Yeah, I guess what it comes down to, folks, is, this is kind of the results of what happens when we have poor leadership. Okay. You know, like I remember during the 2016 election and the run up to it, there was a group of people, right, who are called collapsitarians. Okay. And basically they were people that they wanted to vote for Donald Trump, right? Because they were against everything that he stood for, right? They wanted to vote for him because he would facilitate the collapse of the country faster, right? And this was the idea. He would cause the system to collapse and then we could come in and we could design a better, more just system for everybody else. And then we could have things like universal health care and free college and, community policing where they, and then cops wouldn't shoot black people anymore. And then we'd all have free marijuana and everything would be perfect and blah, 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 right? That shit is a pipe dream. Okay, right now this is what we're experiencing. What happens when you have crappy leadership? You know, like I said, the system is not going to collapse. It's not. This is not enough to destroy even this and a depression. If we didn't go into recession, if we went into a depression, right, that would not cause the system to collapse. Okay, even if we had a world war, that would not cause the system to collapse. All right. I mean, nothing short of like a fucking asteroid hitting the Earth is going to cause the kind of Mad Max post-apocalyptic, societal collapse that these people want. And these are not people on the these are people on the left I'm talking about. These are like anarchists and shit like that who want to tear everything down, because they have this fantasy that this is going to happen and that everybody would work together if it did happen, and then we could just build it all back up and we'll live in this just society and everything will be great and it'll be like Star Trek. It's fantasy land. This is what it looks like when societies begin to fall apart. They don't collapse completely anymore. Okay, we're not going to collapse into anarchy. What'll happen is that the country may collapse, right? And that'll look something like if that eventually happens to the United States, which now I wouldn't have said that would happen 5 years ago, but now I'm not so sure anymore, right? What that would do, it would look something like what happened to the Soviet Union in the 90s. Okay, country didn't, you didn't have roving gangs of hooligans driving around in cars, trading slaves for gasoline and like shit like that. You didn't have that kind of thing where, you know, gangs of fucking people were like, fighting over resources in the streets. It was the government collapsed, your money was suddenly worthless, right? And there was general extreme, uh, the economy was incredibly fucked up, but the rich people got richer and the poor people got poorer. That's what it looks like when a country collapses. Okay, look at Russia right now. All the same problems the Soviet Union had, right? But worse. Um, the difference now is that, well, now there's like more McDonald's there, you know, and you don't have the government telling you what kind of job you have to have. That was the thing in the Soviet Union. You didn't have a choice, right? You basically, if you got drafted, you're in the army, whatever, you didn't want to be a soldier too fucking bad. Now you don't have that problem, but still, look at Russia right now, incredibly corrupt, right? Basically, an authoritarian nightmare that is just not a communist authoritarian nightmare anymore. Now it's a capitalist authoritarian nightmare, you know, of the worst kind. Putin regularly has journalists and his political enemies executed, you know, straight up fucking kills them. And it's like one of those, he's basically a, dictator in name only, like in everything except name. All right. So how long has Putin been fucking president of Russia now? Like what, 20 years? As long as I can remember. It's been at least since what, 98, something like that? Is Boris Yeltsin before him? I mean, yeah, that's what we're turning into, folks. Okay, so don't think that, shit's gonna collapse and then, we're gonna rise up from the ashes and create this great society. That's no. That's not that's a pipe dream, all right? And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that because we right now on the left, there's a lot of debate going on. It's in the circles that I run in. I don't know if so much with anybody else, but there's a lot of debate right now because Joe Biden looks like he's getting the nomination, right? It looks like he's gonna be the Democratic nomination. Oh, how you doing? From Poland, Polanski honor. Hi, nice to meet you. Um, Yeah, he's going to be the guy, and a lot of people on the left who are Bernie supporters don't want to vote for him because Joe Biden is a horrible candidate, and I don't think he's got a chance. I think he's going to get stomped, by Donald Trump. I think if it was any other person running against Joe Biden, he'd win, but I don't even think even this is enough to sink a Trump, not in the eyes of his supporters, right? Now, it's basically right now this next election is the Democrats' election to lose because right now they have every advantage ever going into this election. They couldn't have it more stacked in their favor. You know, they've got a president that's a complete idiot, doesn't care about people, doesn't has no idea what the fuck he's doing, has flubbed every national emergency that's come up in the last 3 years, right? And is like not and is not like hiding the fact that he's a warmonger, like that all that shit about yeah we took the oil stuff like that. Trump says the quiet part out loud. Okay. The shit that George Bush and Mitt Romney and all those guys were too chicken shit to actually admit, Donald Trump just straight out says it because he's a moron, or maybe he's not that much of a moron because maybe he knows that his followers don't care, and that's what they wanted this whole time, right? Maybe he's tapped into that. Maybe he's just outsmarted all of us. I don't know. But I mean, think about every time that there's been an emergency in this country. The California fires. What did they do? Nothing. They didn't do shit. Flint, Michigan, that's still a problem. Flint, Michigan is still a fucking problem right now. People in that city do not have clean drinking water. They're still drinking shit that has fucking lead in it. You know, have they done anything about that? No. All right. Fucking hurricanes. How many hurricanes have we had in the last 3 years? They keep getting bigger and fucking bigger. One of them hits Texas, Puerto Rico. You know, the entire country of Puerto Rico was destroyed by fucking whatever. What was that hurricane? Whatever hurricane that was, right? I can't even remember the name of the hurricane now. It seems like there's like 3 or 4 of them every fucking year, right? Those are American citizens in Puerto Rico, completely destroyed, and Donald Trump just hung them out to dry. It was like, what did we get from Trump and the right wing and the Republicans in this country when it came to hurricane relief for Puerto Rico? We didn't get shit. Now, he basically had like a Twitter feud with the fucking governor of Puerto Rico and didn't give him any aid. You know. Now think about it, right? If Hillary Clinton were president, would that have happened? You know, would she have left Puerto Rico like out to dry like that? No. You know why? Because the negative impact of that, first off, would have shamed her into doing something. But secondly, she gives a shit about people. you know, think about it. If Barack Obama, if there was a hurricane that destroyed Puerto Rico, would he have done the same response that Donald Trump had? Think about Joe Biden right now. What if Joe Biden was president right now? Right? Would he have waited 3 weeks to do something to start getting the country ready for the coronavirus? They knew about the coronavirus in China back in fucking December. They started getting reports of a new virus that's gonna hit pretty soon, and it doesn't take a lot of brain power to realize that it's gonna spread here. You know, they had time to get shit ready, right? Would Joe Biden have fired the CDC emergency response team? Would he have told that? Would he have allowed them to not use the World Health Organization tests, right? You know, would he have gone on the news and gone and done press conferences telling everybody it's going to be okay, it's all a Democrat hoax? Would he have said that, yeah, the coronavirus is a Republican hoax, because they want to get me out of office or whatever? It's all a conspiracy, folks, told people to just go back to work. Would he have done that? No. All right. That's the difference. That I don't care, me personally. I don't really care about like political parties. Okay, I don't really give a shit about um, politicians, people, right? I care mainly about the real life effects of policy on real people. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, it's fine. You know, you want to do all of these things, right? Tell me how you're going to do it and tell me how it's actually going to affect real people in this country, right? You know, what's your plan? You know, that's what I care about. Okay. So I don't really give, you know, like I've said on this channel that I'll never vote for a Republican ever again, right? And it's because they've repeatedly shown to me over the last, 30 years, 25 years that I've been politically active. They've shown to me over and over and over again that they're incredibly bad leaders. They don't care about people. They don't plan ahead, right? They don't do they don't fulfill their station, you know. They don't use the power of their office for the general good, you know, for the public good, I guess is what it is, right? They don't give a shit. Okay? And Democrats, yeah, maybe they're not that much better, but they're better enough. Okay? For me, they're the better choice. And they generally tend to really want to help people, right? I mean, there's a reason why the economy does better when we have a Democrat in charge for normal people. You know, when a Republican gets elected, what happens? The stock market shoots way up, right? Why does it shoot up? Because they cut taxes for rich people, right? What does that lead to? Well, inevitably it leads to an economic bubble that eventually bursts and fucks up everybody who isn't rich. That's happened. How many times has that happened over the last 30 years? You know, uh, 1988, 1989. You know, that's when the stock market collapsed. They called it Black Friday, right? Why did that collapse? Because Ronald Reagan cut a bunch of taxes for rich people. Okay, a few years before that, and the bubble took. It took about 6 years for the S&L loan bubble to form, and then that shit collapsed, and then stock market collapsed, and then we have a shitty economy going into the 90s. That shitty economy is the reason why George Bush the first didn't get reelected, by the way. Okay. Um, Same thing happens again, Bush the second becomes president, does a fucking $2 trillion tax cut in the early, aughts, right? Gets us into a war and all that. Takes about 6 years for that, 7 years until 2008. Economy collapses, causes a huge stock market housing bubble, which collapses, causes a major fucking recession, right? That same pattern, you can go like the great stock market crash in 1929 and the Great Depression that happened after that. Same thing. That was the same thing. They lowered a ship, in the 20s they lowered taxes. It causes this major bubble, right? All the rich people are speculating with all their new money that they weren't paying taxes on anymore into the stock market, right? Stock market forms a gigantic bubble. Stock market collapses. That facilitates the Great Depression. It wasn't the only cause of it, but it definitely helped that along. And that's what happens over and over and over again. It's a pattern that happens throughout history, right? And it's going to happen again. This time it only took what, 3 years? It probably would have gone on a little longer if we didn't have this viral outbreak. This is definitely not helping, but it just kind of goes to show that it's like, well, shit was already predisposed to fucking collapsing. Anagram, hello from Brazil. How you doing? Um, Speaking of that, Brazil, I saw that what's his name? Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, has been exposed to the coronavirus. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't matter who you are. I don't know if you're a supporter of his. I mean, he is kind of single-handedly tearing down the rainforest now. I can't really forgive that, but I don't wish it on anybody. Here's hoping that he like gets through it okay. So anyway, yeah, that's so getting back to this. Okay, sorry, I got a little sidetracked. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the effects of these policies that they have on us, the little people. Myself and everybody that I've ever known, people who are not super mega rich, right? That's what I'm concerned with. And if I meet a Republican that I judge, a Republican politician that I judge as somebody um, who has policies that help people the way that I'm thinking, then I would vote for him. Okay, I don't have party loyalty, right? If I judge that okay, this guy has a chance of winning, and he's gonna help people, he's gonna get stuff going, he supports the things that I believe are best for the country, I'll vote for him, right? And right now, that person, when it comes to in the election this next November, that person is going to be Joe Biden. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Bernie Sanders is going to make it. I'm very proud to say that I voted for Bernie Sanders in this last primary. Because I usually don't. I never vote in the primaries. I usually don't give a shit. I voted for him this time because I really think that his policies are the best policies. But he's not going to make it. He's basically not going to be the nominee. It would be a miracle for him to actually be the nominee, right? And I mean, shit. I hope he does. I hope he does become the nominee because I'd vote for him in a heartbeat. But it doesn't look like he is. And it looks like this time it's going to be fair and square. Back in 2016, everybody was like pissed because they had these super delegates. The Democrats have this super delegate program, the system, where like basically DNC insiders can cast additional votes for delegates and prevent people that they don't like from getting it. Well, this time it looks like it's not even going to come to that. It looks like Biden's just going to hit the threshold. I think what is it, like the 16 something or other threshold of delegate counts before it even hits that point. And you know what? That's fair and square. I'm sorry to say it, but that's the system. And you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? So he's the guy that we got to go up against Trump. And even though I think Joe Biden is a fucking crazy person at this point, who is probably like starting to lose his mind and got a little bit of, you know, he's a Brazilian Trump, yeah. He's got some marbles rolling around in his head, you know. Um, I still think that he's better for the country than Donald Trump is. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Okay. Right now, if he was in charge right now, what would be different? You know, probably a lot of shit. You'd probably be able to believe it when the government tells you something first off, right? Like right now, like Trump goes up and he does you know, does a press conference and he tells everybody that the insurance companies are gonna get rid of co-pays when it comes to coronavirus treatment. Then 5 minutes later, like the lobby for the insurance companies comes out and contradicts him. I got it right here. It was the let's see, spokesperson for the America's Health Insurance Plan, which is a lobbyist group. Like right after Trump made that statement, then he comes out and he goes, "Oh yeah, well we're removing it for testing, not for treatment." You know, so it's like, well, why? Why did he say that if it wasn't true? Right? Because he doesn't care. You know, why would the president come out and say something that was a lie like that? He either doesn't know, right? He either had no idea that they weren't going to pay for it, right? That they weren't going to remove copays and, deductibles for treatment, right? Or he doesn't give a shit. You know, either one of those is equally bad. Okay, you should not be getting misinformation from the president of the United States. When the president of the United States says something, you should be able to trust him and trust what he says is true. And right now we can't do that. You know, we can't do it because the person that we have in charge doesn't fucking care. You know, doesn't give a shit because he's a rich guy. He's a rich guy that gets whatever the fuck he wants. And this is the first time ever in his entire life that, like, he can't just pay somebody to do it for him. You know what I mean? That's what it is, all right? That's a pattern that Donald Trump has had, like, his entire fucking life. Okay, so, I don't know. Anyway, how long we've been streaming here? It's been, what? It's been an hour. Okay, I think we should probably, wrap this up. Let me save this guy here. So, what do you think of our little demon dude here, huh? It's looking pretty good. You know, let me zoom in a little. Yeah, it doesn't look half bad. I don't usually do this sort of sketching right onto the computer very much, you know? Like, usually I just sketch it and then I scan it and, work on it from there. So, like, but just straight out drawing something straight up without any reference or whatever, like, yeah, I think it turned out pretty good for just, something like, but we're not done yet. I think we'll continue. Maybe the next stream I do, I'll probably work on it, refine it a little bit in between now and then maybe we'll add some color to it, and see how that works out. So this is kind of cool. This is like a little experiment in the working. Anyway, folks, I saw that, wow, we actually got, like, pretty, some people. Let me see. Winter Snow. I agree because of choice. Trump actually went to right to life. Really too cringe. Yeah, that's true. Trump was definitely, not a Republican before he ran for president. He's on record in support of, being a Democrat and was very, very much pro-choice until he ran for president. Anyway, thank you guys, though, for joining. Oli and Pulaski Honor and Anagram and Winter Snow. You guys are cool. I do want to say one thing here before I bail. I do have a Patreon I want to show to you guys because I don't pimp this enough. I need to start telling people about it. Here's my Patreon. It's at patreon.com/Hawanja. I'll put a little thing in the thing so you guys can see it. And if you're interested, if you like what I do, please consider, my $1 level, I will give you a shout out and also put my videos up early. For my $10 Junior Spaceman level, I will make a video on the subject of your choice. So no matter what that video is, if you want it to be, stratosphere octopus wrestling, that's where you wrestle octopuses in the stratosphere, I will make a video on that of your choice no matter what. Or I'll draw a picture for you. I'll do that. My $20 a month thing, I have an Etsy store. I'll put a link in the Etsy store there. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you guys my Etsy store. But for my $20 level, I will give you anything you want from my Etsy store and all the other stuff. Hang on. ETSY. Let me show you my Etsy shop. That's how you say it, Etsy. This is my Etsy shop here. Okay, come on, go to the shop, please. Hang on a second. Let me go to my shop manager, blah, blah, blah. And I'll put a link to this in the thing there. So this is another way, if you like me and you want to support me, you can go to my shop. And I make these prints. These are coffee-stained prints, right? Usually most of them are all monsters and stuff. Like, for example, here's one that I did that's Cthulhu. Right. This one's actually kind of popular. These are 11 by 17 coffee-stained prints. Each one is unique. I tear the edges around them, and then I use coffee to make them look like they're all old and everything. Here's another one that has Godzilla on it. Um, anyway, I make these guys. You know, if you want to support me, if you like what I do, you can come here too and buy something. And also, I got all my comics up here as well. So those are, you know, if you want to support me, I need to start pimping myself a little more so that I can actually make a living doing this. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me, and you know, take care of yourself. Right? If you get sick, go to the doctor, please. Take it seriously, and join me again next week. Thanks a lot. Adios.